all the sports teams that exist. Certain countries have a big one or two, but we're proud to say our podcast is about the biggest team in the entire world.
And the only thing else I got to say is, how about them Cowboys?
Yeah! This is the World's Team Podcast. All about the world's team, the Dallas Cowboys, baby. We're here to redefine what it means to be a fan of the gridiron game. It's not just America's team anymore. Nope. We're taking that star-studded pride and spreading it across the globe. Each week, we dive into all things Cowboys. From game analysis that'll have you on the edge of your seat, to reactions and all the latest news. Whether it's free agency frenzy, draft day drama, or injury reports that make us want to hug our lucky jerseys a little tighter. We're bringing in fan groups from all over the place, from Germany, France, Brazil, the UK, Canada, Japan. Everybody gets to share their 2 cents on America's favorite team.
Here we go!
America's team, Mexico's team, world's team, my Dallas Cowboys.
And now your hosts, Paul Stewart and Mike Poland.
Good morning, Cowboys Nation. It is the 24th of August 2024, and welcome to another episode of the World's Team. It's not just America's team, it is the World's Team, bringing in Cowboys fans from all across the world. I am your host, Paul Stewart, and I am joined as always, the Welsh Dragon himself, Mr. Mike Poland. How are we doing, brother?
Yeah, we're all good. We are into the final preseason game, so it's getting serious now, which is good. It's nice to get out of that, but how is the great Scottish Claymore?
Oh, tired, dude. I'm really tired. Like, I think I'm just getting myself prepared for the late nights for the upcoming regular season. Because I don't know how many games we've got that are like so early in the morning for us here in the UK, and I can imagine for some of our friends based in Germany and Italy and some of the guys in Spain, it's going to be like a 2 a.m., 3 a.m. kickoff or something like that. So it's going to be tough.
Yeah, I mean, the good news is Cleveland, week 1, 9 p.m. kickoff. Week 2, I believe, which is Ravens, that's a 6 p.m. kickoff.
I believe so, yes. So I've got sorry, say that again there, Mike.
This is the week 2 game. I might have it wrong. No, week 2 Saints, sorry, and that is a 6 p.m. kickoff.
Ah, right. Okay, got you. Yeah, because I'm looking at for the upcoming game against the Chargers. Ours is a 9 p.m. kickoff back here in the United Kingdom. So that'll be 3 p.m. Central Time, 4 p.m. Eastern Time, and 1 p.m. Pacific Time. I believe that's correct. If I got that wrong, right, folks, if I get that wrong, ladies and gentlemen, just let us know in the comments. But yes, Los Angeles Chargers. I almost said San Diego once again.
It's still getting used to it. It's something we've talked about off air.
Yeah, I don't know what it is, right? And I'm not here to bash the Chargers or any way or any shape or form whatsoever. I find they've got a good team and stuff like that, but it just kind of feels like they are not, like they're just there just because, like, to me, there always will be San Diego. I feel bad for the San Diego fans in that case.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean? So,
they got really like chewed out, you know. The San Diego fans, and like the trouble is the San Diego Charger fans, the actual San Diego fans, they were a very loyal bunch.
Absolutely.
You know, and you think like what the Chargers were going through and everything. Those fans, they were always there. They were always in amongst it. And, you know, when we go to like, you know, the games in the UK, you see plenty of, you don't see them now, but at the time, plenty of San Diego Chargers jerseys. Absolutely. And people are like, and you're like, no, they come out in force. They were beloved, so much so that there was a big petition going on that the San Diego fans didn't want the team to leave, but
yeah.
what can
Well,
you do? You
speaking
can't
about
stop
well,
it.
saying that, speaking about teams leaving, if you want to take a team that did not want their team to move one shape or form or the other, that was Cleveland way long ago before they went to Baltimore, and you saw the result of that where they got that mad upset about it. They ended up taking seats from the stadium. Thankfully, the NFL expanded and the Browns came back. Thank goodness for the fans of Cleveland, because the NFL does need them, and the fans in particular, because I think they're the most loyal fans across the NFL, bar none. I really do.
Yeah, with what they do, with what the franchise goes through.
100%. 100%.
And also, you think Cleveland, Ohio, home of football, Pro Football Hall of Fame, Canton, Ohio.
Makes sense. It makes sense. But yes, going back to the Los Angeles Chargers. So we've got our final preseason game coming up this weekend, and still a couple of question marks going into this game.
True.
I'll start off though as Trey Lance. Where do we stand with Trey Lance, Mike?
Yeah, he's the big question. He's the big enigma at the moment. Like you say, the good thing is the preseason games have answered a lot of questions for us, thankfully. But I mean, we can cross that bridge in a moment. But there are some questions, as you say, that have been left behind. Trey Lance is the big one, because where do we stand? Jerry Jones, although he says a lot of things, he has turned around and said that he wants Trey Lance to be the quarterback too. He wants him to be the backup, but Cooper Rush is still there. And what we've seen is Trey Lance so he was below average in the Rams game. In the Raiders game, he was above average. But then you kind of sit and go, but this is supposed to be a guy you're hoping to be, he was a first-round talent that was taken by the San Francisco 49ers. We spent a 4th-round draft pick to trade for him. So you're kind of pushing for this guy to try and be something, but you've only seen it in preseason where you can say he's been above average-ish, and that's against backup players. That's not against full-blown stars, and that's the trouble. How much context can you take from what we've seen in these last 2 weeks?
I totally, mate. Like, the thing is for me is when you really consider all the things about Trey Lance, right? I'm sure deep down, he seems a really nice guy. He was on the Dakota Shepley's show about talking about cars and stuff. It seems a really nice stand-up guy and that. But I do need to ask though, it just seems like for him to be a first-round pick who barely played enough college football to be justified as a first-round draft pick, and we made the trip, and for him to go through San Francisco the way he did, barely being on the field at all. Some of it was not down to his fault, some of it was down to injury, but even still, it's an experience. And now he's come to Dallas to be that full backup. To me, he still resembles like a rookie. I hate to say it. It really does. I mean, I'm rooting for Trey Lance. I really hope he does get up to that next level and stuff, because I do think he has traits that would actually help if that was to go down. And I'm talking about the physical attributes. He's got the same size and build, etc. He's athletic, completely different type of prototype quarterback compared to Cooper Rush. Because when you put Dak and Cooper Rush together, two completely different quarterbacks.
Yeah.
So when you look at Dak and when you look at Trey Lance, it's like they do have an arm, but with Trey Lance's problem is he tends to overthrow it quite a fair bit, or throw it too powerful.
Yeah, too much velocity on every pass.
Yeah, especially on the short passes. I know he really wants to get the ball out quick, but it's more just calm the hell down,
Yeah, but the high velocity he's putting on the balls is because of his lack of confidence of his accuracy. So you see that in college football, you see it a lot with the guys who have got quite a big arm but lack the touch. to put on the ball, they'll just fire that ball in quick because they haven't got the accuracy. Really, what they're trying to do is shorten the path from A to B. So you do that by just throwing it as hard as you can.
Yeah.
But the trouble is what Lance does as well. The scariest part of all is when he goes when there's a play across the middle, he goes high. So if you're going high and you're throwing a fast, a high velocity pass in there, and the wide receivers going high and across the middle, it's going one of two ways. You're either wide receivers coming down with a concussion, or the ball is getting tipped out of his hands and only going into one place, and that's into the secondary, where there's one or two safeties floating back there. There's not going to be other wide receivers to catch the ball. So what it does is create issues of you're not preserving your wide receivers, and also you're giving high risk chance of overturning the ball. That's where Trey Lance falls down. I mean, like the rushing side of it all, brilliant, like you say, and that does resemble somewhat what that can do.
When it comes to run play option, I have no complaints about Trey Lance at all. I think he looks really good and very elusive. I'm pretty happy from that regard, but that's only a small element to the game of being a quarterback. You're talking about 9 times out of 10, especially if you're in the situation being on the football field, you're going to be likely to be passing the ball. Like handing off to a running back, that's takes it off the edge, but that's not really on you per se. Besides the handoff, you need you need to deliver the handoff correctly. But you get what I mean. But But when you're in the pocket, 9 times out of 10, you are going to throw the ball, and it's only worst case scenario, or it's a design play. You're going to run play option it. So
and there's a lot of issues. I mean, back in North Dakota State, Lance didn't throw the ball all that much. He didn't throw the ball all that much high school. Like, it's very limited the passing, and that was the big issue coming through college. Like, I was never a fan, and I never understood the idea of him being a first-round grade. I thought it was bonkers. And, like, on top of all of that, they're saying, "Oh yeah, but it's the athletic ability." And like, in the FCS, I don't want to be spurged FCS. These guys are still guys, but you're up against, these guys are like, some of them are part-time athletes, some of them are trying to move up to the next level, but you're up against accountants and mathematicians.
Yeah,
do you know what I mean? It's not like you've got hard competition. So when he's stepping up and you get into here, it's kind of like, but I think the saving grace, I think, for Trey Lance at this stage is that there's the quarterback 3 option. And the quarterback 3 option is something Mike McCarthy generally does like. He did it in Green Bay mostly, quite a lot anyway. But because of the rule that you got in there, so he doesn't count towards your game day guys, you see it every week on the inactives, and it'll be Trey Lance, but it'll be in brackets QB3, because basically he is there, but he just doesn't count. So I think that's what is going to be his saving grace. The issue will be is how quickly can Trey Lance transform between now, basically, and when we get round to when the Super Bowl's passed and these guys become free agents, because he's effectively not under contract and he's done.
I know, and that's a good question. But talking about the contracts, that's another discussion as the season goes on. But what is your expectations for Trey Lance going into this game for the LA Chargers?
See a lot of him. I think we're going to just see plenty and plenty of him. Like, he's going to play the full game. I mean, like, unless there's like some sort of play at the end of the game that Mike McCarthy's drawing up that he wants to try and see Cooper Rush do. That I don't see it. It's just going to be, this game is all Trey Lance. We spoke about this on the UK Cowboys podcast. Could it be that we see Dak as the offensive play caller? So you will see, we've seen that last year. So do we see that again this year, where it's like as a way to get the cogs turning up in the brain with Dak, so we can, communicate and get ideas flowing on play calling. But I think expectations will be Trey Lance, plenty of it. Expect him to lead the team in rushing again. In terms of the passing side, it's like I really don't know what to expect because we've had either end of the scale where, like, the big issue is red zone and third down with Trey Lance when it comes to it all. So it's like, how efficient can he be when it gets to that side of the game? You're hoping that week 1, full rust. Week 2, it did look better. I'm not saying it looked great. It was much improved. So is it going to be that we get another level again? Does it get improved? Because now if it is, my opinion will slightly change because obviously now we're seeing that upward progression and you're hoping that that's a trend that continues.
Yeah.
So that's the only thing. But go on, sorry, mate.
Yeah, I mean, I think for me, my expectations for Trey Lance is to try and be very level-headed, like calm down in the situation that he's in. He doesn't have to. I don't want to see him having to force the throws. Essentially, get them like if he's got time, then place the pass better. Like, don't get me wrong, he made some passes in the game against the Raiders. He did. Right, but you can still tell there was that element. It was like, a bit too much sauce in that, if you know what I mean. But so, but yeah, I would like to see him kind of like take a more deep dive in terms of the passing routes. See if a guy is going downfield a bit more. I want to see more of his arm, especially. Like, I want to see like if Tolbert's going to be on the field, for example, like if he's going to be running down to the on the edges and running deep on the deep route. I want to see that. Like, I want to see more in terms of like, is Trey Lance a good viable option to probably like move him up to QB2 in case that does go down and we don't have to deviate away from the original game plan. Because let's be honest here, if that goes down and Cooper Rush is in, like, I like Cooper Rush. I think he's done a fantastic job for stepping up, but we tend to deviate from the plan because it's a different style of quarterback. That's the thing. Whereas if we moved, like if Lance somewhat gets up to more that level, like to be a good backup, then we can't. That's a good thing that Mike McCarthy doesn't have to change his game plan that much, if not any. So that's the way I'm kind of seeing it.
Yeah, and I mean, the only thing I will add is, I mean, we're talking here about the backup quarterback situation as well. So, you know, like, how many teams can turn around and say, we have a viable guy to put on the field as backup? Really, if your backup's on the field and your main starting quarterback's down, you're just it's really down to your defense. Like, the best saying I've ever heard is a scouting term is your best backup quarterback is a good defense.
Yeah. Speaking about quarterbacks and like you mentioned about contracts and stuff like that, not so much Trey Lance, but Dak Prescott. Do we think his contract will get done before week 1? And not just that, do we think CD Lamb contract will get done before week 1?
Both blow my mind how they're not being done yet. It just doesn't make any sense. Like, like I said before, like, if you're going to go for a complete rehaul of the roster, and this is so be it. Okay, that's fine. Then you say, okay, that's why we're not signing Dak. That's why we're not signing Osa Odigizua. That's why Micah Parsons will be on his 5th-year option, and then he'll be out the door. So you go, okay, fine. You don't want to see the heel turn halfway through where they just go, oh, okay, let's change our mind because now you've just blown. But what doesn't make sense to me, right? Okay, you say we're going to go into a rebuild, and you're like, all right, fine. But then if you do that, why are you not signing CeeDee Lamb? Because, like, that's the only one that doesn't make any sense to me. You don't want to sign Dak. I get it. 60 million is a lot. You want to go to a rebuild, find your next starting quarterback, you're rebuilding your offensive line. So if you did get a rookie quarterback in the draft, you could slot him in and get things going. But if you don't have CeeDee Lamb in there, then none of that makes any sense because he is essentially your star player on offense. And if you don't have him in there, you literally are restarting the entire offense all over again. And you're looking at 3 years. before you start seeing returns on whatever this plan is going to be. Whereas if you keep CD Lamb, you can get a rookie quarterback in there, and you can plod things along in the first year and develop them. And because he's got this excellent star wide receiver on the outside, it's a nice foundation for them to come in. But
this is the interesting part, though, mate. Well, it's more so on Dak Prescott.
Yeah.
Like, if we were to move on from Dak Prescott, as you know, we're going to take a big salary cap hit due to
yeah. There's all of that. Yeah.
So that to me makes no sense. It's like to avoid that, like if we're going for a rebuild and we're getting hit with a cap hit, then you might as well just expect for the first couple of years to kind of like be on the in the downside and within the league. Let's be honest.
Yeah.
So I hope, but me personally, I hope both do get re-signed. I really do. Whoever, if that is one bit of faith I do have in the front office, they can rework the cap. They can, and they've done it all the time. So I'm just confused why it's not been done now. I don't know why they're waiting. I don't know if it's more to do with the agent. I know there's been reports and talks, etc. But it is what it is.
It doesn't make any sense. Yeah. And you talk about the voidable years, Paul, and we spoke about this when the deal came in. And we were like, okay, the voidable years, that's fine. Obviously, they have a plan where when it gets to Dak's next contract, all that's just going to be folded up into the next contract. By that time, Dak's going to be 32, and you're thinking, right, we'll make this a 4-year contract. By that time, he's going to be 36, 37. We're not going to be looking to extend him or, continue him in Dallas much further beyond that. So that's just that this will be the contract. And you kind of go, yeah, that makes all sense. So that's the plan. So when we get to the end of this contract, it's going to be a case of, unless like that completely fell off a shelf, these voidable years make complete sense because you're just going to sign him and it doesn't really matter. But then you get to this point and it's kind of like as if they've got no plan and they've gone, what are we supposed to be doing again? And you just, it blows your mind. And you kind of like say, well, none of this makes any sense. And then here's a good one, right? Dak was number 1 in the NFL last year in passing touchdowns, right, Paul?
Yeah.
So you sit there going, I scored the most touchdowns at the quarterback position last year. I'm up for a contract. You watch all these other guys in the league get paid. They get their contract extensions and they get all the rest of it. And you're just still sitting there going, for me, what are we doing? Like the best way I can describe it is say you were the best guy in your field, in your job, right? Last year, you were the best performer. And I was say third best. And I'm in a rival company and I just got a massive pay rise. And you go, hold on. He's not as good as me, and he just got a pay rise. What's happening with me? And that company doesn't give you a pay rise. What are you gonna do?
Yeah, complain.
Yeah, or you're gonna leave that company and go.
It's common sense. It's common sense. It's common sense. It's like get paid what you're owed, essentially.
And it's the same with Lamb.
Yeah, exactly. Like Lamb's been phenomenal for us. Don't get me wrong. He's had games where he has had his head down and he has went AWOL in some games, but when he's on his game, he is absolutely the best out there, 100%. But before moving on, we kind of discussed quarterbacks for quite a little bit here, but we will talk more about the preseason game against the Chargers and talk about the offensive line now after our introduction from our commercial from Cowboys Experience.
The World's Team Podcast is brought to you by Cowboys Experience, the ultimate Cowboys experience with stadium tours, meet and greets, tailgating, game tickets, and much more. For more information, please go to www.cowboysexperience.com.
Yes, be sure to go to cowboysexperience.com and please use the discount code WorldsTeam2024. And as Mike actually just pointed there on the screen, you can see our sponsor in the bottom corner of the screen. And if you're listening to our audio, be sure just to check out the URLs provided in our description. But yes, Mike, preseason game against the Chargers. And we've mentioned this before we went on the air. Try to think of topics what we're kind of excited for going into this season. I'm really excited about our rookies, Tyler Guyton and Cooper Beebe, especially after what they did, like for the brief moments they've had. But Beebe in particular has really kind of stepped up in that Raiders game, I thought. And we're seeing the work he's put in. He's taking snaps from his mum, etc. He's taking the ball with him everywhere with him to practice his snaps.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm absolutely thrilled to see what these guys can do, and seeing some of the footage of Tyler Guyton in that left tackle position, ragdolling Raiders defensive ends like a sack of potatoes. I'm like,
starting defensive ends.
Starting, yes. Let's not forget that, ladies and gentlemen. Starting defensive line. It makes me ask the question, Mike, if we're going into week 1, etc., against, like I said, probably one of the best defensive linemen in the league in Myles Garrett.
Yeah.
It's going to be an absolute classic battle between Guyton and Garrett. It really is. And I really and to me, if Guyton can suppress Garrett from doing anything in that game, already my expectations is went above and beyond what my expectations are exceeded. Because I think because when we drafted him, we weren't too we were happy that we drafted the offensive lineman, but we had so many questions. It's like him being him being a right tackle. Can he transition to playing on the left? And obviously, as the reports coming out, he stated when he first joined Dallas, he's like, I much prefer playing on the left. I'm going to be working with Duke Manyweather. Big shout out to Duke Manyweather, because this guy is an absolute wizard. It really is. Like how he's fine-tuned some of the offensive linemen, not just for the Cowboys, but for offensive linemen all across the league to take them up to that next level is just nothing but amazement.
Yeah.
But yes, and also Cooper Beebe. Like I said, he looked really, really good. He's especially in the run blocking. He's been looking really good. He's holding his own. He's not getting really forced back into the pocket. So my question is to you, Mike, how much are we going to see of Guyton and Beebe going into this final preseason game?
That's a good shout. I don't think we'll see much of Guyton. I think we've established where we are with Guyton. Beebe is another question because it's possible, both the battle between him and Hoffman is still continuing.
It's still there.
Yeah. Beebe is much better. And speaking to a few guys over in Dallas, Mickey Spagnuolo, a few of them, they've speaking to them, and I've had almost a consensus response where it's like at the moment, Beebe is ahead.
Wow.
Yeah, that's how it's looking. And they're saying that that's coming from the coaches.
There you go, folks. That's the source. Big Mikey Spagnuolo. Big shout out to Mikey, a good friend of ours who's been a regular on the UK Cowboys fans. We need to get him on the World's team at some point.
He'll jump on with us.
Yeah, 100%. So, yeah, we'll extend a wee invite, see if we can try and get him on, get his insight, his wisdom, his knowledge. And yeah, but also going into this game as well, another thing I've been very, very impressed is Mike Zimmer. I've been saying this. I've been saying this for too long now. When Zimmer was first appointed to replace Dan Quinn, I thought makes perfect sense. He is a less is more attitude, like less complicated, more quality, essentially. And we are starting to see that. And this is not with our starters. This is with the depth players we're seeing that with.
True.
So seeing that in action, it makes me wonder, it's like, okay, if Zimmer is having that impact where these guys are trying to fight for the roster, I'm very interested to see what it's going to be like with our number ones, with D-Law, Parsons, Diggs, etc. I'm really excited about it, mate. I don't know about you, but hit me with it.
No, I agree with you. It is an interesting take, that Zimmer, and the good thing with Zimmer as well is he's not somebody you want to watch a highlight reel with kids with. It gets
no,
language
no.
a bit blue. But that goes back to his no nonsense attitude. And I think some of these guys on the everyone knows who I'm talking about. There are some guys on this defense that rather than being mollycoddled, which is kind of the Dan Quinn way, like, Dan Quinn's way is always, killing you with softness, where Zimmer, which is what I think some of these guys need on this defense, is a hard-nosed guy to tell you how it is. That if you make a pre-snap penalty, you're coming off the field and you're sitting on our bench. Doesn't matter if you're better than that guy. You've made a mistake and you're going to sit there and you're going to think about it. And when you're ready, we'll have a conversation. I'll be a bit blue and then you can go back in. That's what this defense needs. It needed somebody to take it on. And like you say, he's done a lot as well with the down roster guys, with the backup players, the second and the third stringers. But what's impressed me with what he's done as well is that we always talk about the turnovers with Dallas. It's always been the turnovers. But the turnovers haven't gone. Like, I was always thinking with Mike Zimmer, it's going to be a little bit more methodical. It's going to be less frantic, less about the ball, and more about controlling generally the game. But it hasn't. The turnovers are still coming.
Well, and say that though, mate, you are. I would say it has been more controlling of the game. It's more making better reads. In that regard. So, and that's the thing. Like, the only
especially on the defensive line.
Well, yeah, but the only thing is I would like to see more from the defensive line. We don't want to rely too much on our secondary. Yeah. So hopefully when we see our starters, get more Nashon Nealand in there, get him more reps, like see Micah Parsons on week 1, D-Law, etc. If we can get there and actually put the pressures onto the quarterback and get the tackles for losses in the run game and get the sacks, then great. It will take the pressure off a little bit from our secondary. Because it is, when you really think of it, it's a chain reaction. If the defensive line are not going to get to the quarterback, then it's going to give more time and more pressure on the secondary. So, and so that's kind of how it works. So it always starts from the trenches. So, but that's the only thing. I'm not going to say negative. I just want to see more of from our D line. Like I will say though, the stopping the run still somewhat needs more discovery. I think is the right word to use. As you know, Chris, we have brought in some guys in. We have brought in. Let me see here. Jordan Phillips, and there was one more defensive tackle. I believe
Joseph.
That's the one.
Yeah.
So we brought in 2 other big guys who could easily play at the 1-tech spot. And this is not to discourage Mazi Smith. I think that small segment, what we saw of Mazi Smith, is really good. But I want to see more. I want to get him more into the game just to build his resilience, resistance, or just stamina,
confidence, and everything.
Exactly. Just give him more reps to give him just to make him feel more comfortable, build his fitness up, game ready fitness essentially. So that's what I'm kind of looking for. But going into the game, the Chargers, who they've stacked up on their offense, and I think this is going to be a really good test for likes of Mike Zimmer and all these depth guys, because obviously with the Chargers they brought in Joe Alt, the offensive tackle, and who else did they bring in?
Lab McConkey,
Brendan Rice,
really good wide receiver, Lab McConkey.
Oh yeah, they brought in 3 wide receivers in this year's draft. So that was Larry McConkey, Brendan Rice, and Cornelius Johnson from Michigan. So I have to say the Chargers did fantastic in the draft. They did really well. They also brought and from their point, from the defensive side of the ball, they brought in Junior Colson, a guy we talked about extensively going into this NFL draft process when we were talking on the UK Cowboys. So.
We mock drafted him multiple times.
Multiple times. But again, I think like people would have the idea if we were to draft one more Michigan player, like, like everyone would lose their mind. Like I'm sure I know our good friend Chris from the Cowboys Up podcast will be like, "Don't you be dissing my Michigan players?"
Yeah. I have dissed his. I didn't diss his Michigan man cave when we went in there.
Yeah, actually, I do need to give a wee shout to Chris. I had a wee a conversation. He's got a wee segment called Conversations with Chris, where he gets to interview Cowboys fans, get to know their backstory, how they became Cowboys, and it was really nice. It wasn't actually me what I think about the Cowboys. It was actually the whole thing was about myself. So he wanted to know how I became a Cowboys fan, like what was it like growing up in Scotland, like staying up late, like everything. And I wish I had more. I wish I had more time, but I had to end the show early because I had fantasy football drafts to do. So I'll definitely be taking a rain check with Chris for that one for sure. To do a follow up 100%. But
talking of fantasy drafts, Spine Paul, we've got one on Sunday.
Yes, we do, with our good friend Bluff City Cowboys.
All the guys from DC4L.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, and Cowboy Deal is in there, and
a whole group of guys.
George. Cowboy player. His name is just right off my head.
I'll have a look now. I have it right here, so I can find out who you're on about. It's funny that like I'm in a league and I don't even know who's in the league properly.
I know it's all nicknames here.
That's the trouble. It's all nicknames in there. So we'll have to come back on that one.
I know, yeah, definitely.
I don't know about George Teague.
That's the one, George Teague.
That's the one. Yeah, of course. Yeah.
Yes. I knew it was George. I knew that.
Yeah. I just clicked into my mind.
It was the surname that threw me off. But anyway, yeah, we do have a fantasy draft with him in that. But anyway, we kind of went away off topic here. Going back to defense, Mike.
Yeah, man.
I think what they've got, I think it's going to be a really good test for our depth players going against these rookie wide receivers who are going to be hot on the tail. Because they're quite a lot of these wide receivers are going to be featured in their 53-man roster because obviously some of the from last season, some of the wide receivers are now went to pastors new. So, and let me just double check. I'll give you.
I think the most interesting battle that will go on is the Chargers really want to solidify their offensive line. They want to try and keep Herbert upright. And I think they're going to use this as a nice litmus test on their depth pieces with the Cowboys' depth pieces. And I think that's where a good battle is going to happen in the trenches.
Yeah, what I was going to say is that obviously with the Chargers, they don't have Mike Williams anymore. He's now gone.
Yeah.
So there's opening spots for the likes of the Chargers to really that they will be fighting to get those extra roster places as much as that we've got with us with likes of Foreignoy, etc. You name it. We've got a lot of competition when it comes to our wide receiver group as well. So Mike. But give me your thoughts about the actual game itself and give me your score prediction.
All right. I think this one, I just mentioned it. I think it's going to come in the trenches, this game. This is a big one where who can get the most or stop the most pressure. And I think if the Cowboys, they're going to play more the down roster defensive linemen. You can't see the Chargers playing guys like Joe Alt. They're all taking a backseat. So their second string offensive line is going to be out. That's where the pressure. If the Cowboys defensive line, which I think they will, can crack through and get a lot of pressure on the quarterback over at the Chargers, the Cowboys win. I think Cowboys win this one 24-17.
That's not far of what I was thinking.
Yeah.
So for me, I'll be I'm very similar with you. Obviously, I don't think Herbert's going to feature that much, to be honest, because he is.
No. Yeah.
He's marked in as questionable anyway. So we're going to see the likes of either Easton Stick or Luis Perez is going to be the quarterbacks. I'm looking at their roster right now. Obviously, there's Quentin Johnson there, J.K. Dobbins. I mean, the starting running back, according to their roster, is Gus Edwards. So in terms of their starting wide receivers, it's Joshua Palmer, Laird McConkey, and DJ Chark. And behind them, it's Quentin Johnson, Darius Davis, Brendan Rice, former Dallas Cowboys Simi Fehoko, Jalen Johnson, Cornelius Johnson, as we kind of mentioned earlier about the draft, Jalen Gill, and Isaiah Wooden as the wide receivers. So I would expect to see like Simi Fehoko play for them. Like we know quite a fair bit about him, what he's capable of. So, but looking on their defensive side of the ball, what we're going to look to do is, I think we're going to try and look to see if we can try and improve the run game. I think, let me just rephrase that. On the defensive side of the ball, I think we're going to try and look to stop the run, get to them, etc. But in terms of our offense, is trying to establish the run. There we go. I've corrected myself.
I was with you all the way, man.
Yeah, so you know what I meant, though. But yes, but looking at their defense, though, like obviously we're not going to see much of Khalil Mack. He's not going to be there. Asante Samuel or Denzel Perriman. That's your starting guys out there, and Daly and Henley. But as their backups, though, they've got Troy Dye, Bud Dupree, former Pittsburgh Steeler. Yeah. And Nick Nyman and Junior Colson. So I would expect to see a better action from those guys. A
swirl of it there,
yeah. So those guys you need to kind of watch out for. So, but for likes of the run game, I would like to see just to really break that second wind, getting beyond the line of scrimmage and really make those long strides. Like we have no reports in terms of Rico, in terms of likes of Rico Dowdo or anything like that. Is he going to get any limited reps? Nothing's been mentioned at all yet. So
I don't think you'll see him.
I want to see at least one drive, at least one.
It'd be good, yeah.
Like, and obviously give Zeke at least a drive out there as well to get him, like, just to take on that like one rep and get him like mentally focused for the week, for the week ahead against the Cleveland Browns. That's what basically. I know it might sound a bit of a risk, but I would hate to go in cold turkey with none of our starters, not actually having 1 ounce of actual like a proper reps and a game situation before the season opener. That's where I'm kind of at. So, but in terms of my score prediction, Mike, I said it on the other show on the UK Cowboys fans. I'm going to go 21-17 to the Cowboys. So yes, folks. But now it's time for Mike's little segment of the show.
Yeah, would you rather? All right, and let us know in the comments, guys, which you would rather as well. So making the 53-man roster, Paul, all right? Who would you rather? Wide receiver Ryan Flournoy or linebacker Willie Harvey Jr.?
So when you sent that earlier, when we were offline, automatically I think, why can't it be both?
You can have both.
But we cannot have that answer though. We can't.
Yeah. It's a would you rather.
It's would you rather. That's the golden rule. It needs to be one or the other. So I think for me, I'm kind of, and I think we're okay in the wide receiver in terms of other guys filling out the spot, like Tyler Billy Johnson, etc.
Okay.
Whereas linebacker, I think we need is more depth players just in case. So that's why I'm going to go with linebacker in this occasion with Willie Harvey Jr.
Yeah, I'm not saying that we would cut either of them. Like, they could make the practice squad or whatever. But yeah, it is who makes the 53. So
Well,
you'll
in
go
fact,
with
well, who
that.
would you? Well, I think the question would be who would be your first choice to make the 53-man
Yeah,
roster.
yeah, exactly.
There you go.
Yeah,
there you
there
go.
you
But yes, folks, that is the end of this week's show. As we mentioned, the Cowboys will be playing at 3 p.m. Central Time at AT&T Stadium. Is it at AT&T?
Yes, it is. Yeah, yeah.
I had to double check there. My God. Oh my goodness. But yes, folks, it's at home. We're getting ready for getting ill prepared for the week 1 opener against the Cleveland Browns. And yeah, so 3 p.m. Central Time, 1 p.m. Pacific Time, and 4 p.m. Eastern Time. And if you're here in the UK, it's 9 p.m. And if you're in Central Europe, it'll be between 5 p.m. or 6 p.m., depending on what time zone you are within Europe. But yes, folks, like I said, it's the end of the show. We will be back here next week getting in preparation for the regular season opener against the Cleveland Browns. And before I do it, Mike, please tell everyone where everyone can follow you.
Yeah, you can find me on Twitter at Kenfig Cowboy. That's Kenfig with a K and Cowboy with a K. And what about you, Paul?
You can follow me at IMPStew on Instagram and on X. But yes, folks, like I said, that's the end of the show. We'll be back next week. And like we say here on the World's Team, it's not just America's team, it's the World's Team. Have a good one, folks.
You've been listening to the World's Team Podcast. There's no other team like it in the world. Nothing more electrifying than the Dallas Cowboys. And we're here to prove it. We bring in fan groups from Germany, France, Brazil, the UK, Canada, Japan. We're everywhere, baby. We hope you've enjoyed the show. If you did, make sure to like, rate, and review. We'll be back soon. But in the meantime, find us on Instagram at the.worlds.team. On Twitter at _worlds_team. And on YouTube at the Worlds Team. How about them Cowboys?
And the only thing else I got to say is, how about them Cowboys?
See you next time.